I'm very much delighted, to be here, and I like to thank the organizers, for inviting me, and then I flew all the 20 hours from South Korea, 14 hours to the Barcelona, and then it took 3 hours, to come here. But I think it's really worthy of traveling, here. So I would like to introduce my chief editing journal, particularly Paladin Quantity, and also the other two journals I'm chief editing. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself, and then I received my PhD from the State University of New York in Buffalo. Then Buffalo is nearby Niagara Falls. I'm not sure how many people have been to the Buffalo, but it's not a New York City. It's like a 1 hour flight from the New York City. And right after my PhD, I had my first, research associate job in the Amsterdam, in the National Academy of the Netherlands. They called KANAB. And then, I stayed there about a year, and then I came back to my hometown where I work. And then it has been about 20 years, more than 20 years. And I had my sabbatical in the Oxford Internet Institute. Oxford Internet Institute is the most prestigious institute in the internet research field. And that is my research background. And as you can see here that I established a scholarly association with a particular focus on the triple helix and innovation. Conference. It calls data, innovation, social network, and convergence. Yeah, this is pretty much about me. And then I have been actually publishing, many papers in collaboration with, my, colleagues and then my students. And then my field is very much diverse and multidisciplinary. That is why, I was successful in receiving many citations. According to the research.com, I don't know you about the research.com, I am ranked number 1 in Korea in the field of humanities and social science. And then also my ranking is 1400 around the world. So check out your ranking in the research.com. Okay, so let me go through the results. Okay. This is the Paladin Quantity, the journal published by Springer, and then this journal is being published bi-monthly, so every other month. And then as you can see, the submission to the first decision is very short, like about 2 months. But I tend to make the first decision within like 2 weeks. So that's to reject or send out for the external review. Okay, and then the number of downloads has been increased a lot recently. And then we have been the volume number 57, so it has been long in history. And then originally, the founding editor of this journal is the Italian researcher, Italian professor. And then, I took over, this editorship position. Okay. That is the Paladin Quantity, and then the subtitle of the Paladin Quantity is the International Journal of Methodology. So this journal, emphasizes the methodological aspect. How many people, have published your research in the Paladin Quantity here? How many? Only one? Oh, yeah. Less than the half. Yeah. So how many people have rejected the papers? Yeah. those who got rejected have the bad feelings about this journal. But from my experience, I think that desk rejection is much better than rejection in second round or third round, right? Because it took a lot of effort and then time to revise. But finally you got rejected, and that's really bad. So I tend not to reject after second round. That is my policy. So once I send it out for external review, I tend to maintain the integrity of the revised version as well as the review comment. So which means I often desk reject more than 1/3 because we received 1,000 submissions per year, right? So in the beginning, I have to be very cautious what to send for external review. Otherwise, we cannot manage it. So you have to be think about what is the best desk rejection or making a revision according to the review comment to go through the entire review procedure, right? And this is another journal, the Journal of Contemporary Eastern Asia. And this journal is also Scopus indexed. And as you know, quality and quantity also Scopus indexed. But we receive 1,000 submissions. And the other journal, we received only 100 submissions. It's very much contrasting, right? But different areas. But we received a small number of the submissions per year. So we are very careful, to select, what to publish. Do you understand? Yeah. So there are two different strategies for the editors to manage journals. For example, this kind of journal that being published every other month, and we publish about 20 articles per issue, right? In that case, we are trying to decide, what to reject. But for example, in the case of this small sized journals, we are trying to read what to select. There is very different strategy for the editors. Because for these large journals or big journals, we cannot control all the papers. So we cut out the bottoms, okay? And then with the small journals, we select, top tiers. So that is why sometimes you see, what a horrible article was published in top tier journal, like IEEE. Why? Because they publish like 20 or 30 articles per issue, which means they publish more than 100 articles per year. And editors cannot always control the quality of papers to be published. But this small journal we can control. So sometimes I advise my graduate students and then junior researchers try with the big journals with the top tier. They is better sometimes. The impact factor of this journal is much lower than the quality quantity, but we are more selective here. Do you understand? Yeah. And then this is the Journal of Contemporary Eastern Asia, and then this journal became the Directory of Open Access Journal, DOAJ. And so we are independent, also, which means we do not depend on the publisher. This journal is we have a publisher, Springer. So Springer has some influence on the quality and quantity. But this journal, the other journal, I am very much independent. Almost I own this journal. Okay, so we don't have any influence very much, the distinction between two journals. So when you select the journals for publication, you have to think about that. Okay. And this is the a new journal. I'm going to be chief editor, and then we say this is a decentralized journal based upon cryptocurrency. I do not know how much you understand about the Web3 technologies. Okay, so this journal we are trying to be, the push authors, reviewers, editors, free from the publishers. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this third journal later on. Okay, so I formulated some frequently asked questions about the quality and quantity. And then if you have any questions, besides what I already formulated, you can ask me. Okay, first of all, how I started with the quality and quantity. Let me read. Since around 2010, you have so this is the questionnaire, as if you were asking. Since around 2010, you have impressive scholarly reputation and assisted your research communities in becoming a significant research partner, conference host, and journal publisher. What do you do to become the editor of the quality and quantity as well? Are there any aspects of the journal or its contribution that particularly appeal to you? No. During my research leave sabbatical at Oxford Internet Institute in the first part of 2009, I became imbibed with the triple helix community in the Europe than I had previously. After returning to the South Korea, I started establishing my own international scholarly association and scholarly conference, and then this has greatly aided me in expanding my worldwide research partnership network, just like the professor, Schiamonti, he is doing. And so I was in charge of editing some special edition of the quality and quantity. And then, they started recognizing me during my special, guest editorship. Okay. Since then, the editorial team has been quite nice to me. So this is how I came to know the quality and quantity. I first approached to the quality and quantity, and then I offered, I like to guest edit the special issue, and they first, accepted. And then the special, edition, I guest edited, received many citations. Okay, and then this helped the quality and quantity to gain more recognition beyond Europe. And then, they recognized me. Particularly, this article here, half one century of quality and quantity of bibliometric review. This article came out in 2018, written by the two persons here, Dr. Noret and Dr. Marias. And this article recognized my research activities. Okay, so and then that is why my previous editor-in-chief and managing editor, they came to know how important my special issue in boosting the citation performance of the quality and quantity. Okay, and then they have been quite nice to me. And then actually, I have never met Noret and then Elias, but during my visit to the Spain this time, I was able to have the face-to-face meeting with them. So I took a picture, this picture, last week in Barcelona. And then they told me the whole story, how I was being welcomed by editorial board and then chief editors in the
quality quantity. So because they, did some, research about the, the citation structure. Okay. So I got the invitation back to the before the COVID-19. So as long as I remember correctly, summer in 2019, I received a letter from the Springer. And Springer told me that they like to, replace chief editor, and then they want me to take over. And so at that time, I had no idea why all of a sudden, they decide to replace, chief editor, because the founding editor has been 40 years. So what happened here? The quality and quantity was dropped from the Web of Science all of a sudden. That is why Springer decided to, change chief editor, and then they came to me based upon this article. So I had a conversation with them. And then I decided to accept, their invitation. And then, so I needed to reshuffle all the editorial board. First of all, the managing editor, actually Italian, guy, he was really helpful. He was really useful in the beginning, but all of a sudden, he also had to leave for the personal, reasons. And then I needed a new managing editor, and then, I started, new, book big section as well. So book big section was not, during the previous era. Okay. So this is my editorial about my inaugural, era, a new era of quality and quantity, like a collaborate or point behind. So the title says, so the more authorship or the more countries got invited, the more likely to be published. Because I prefer, people's, collaborations rather than single author articles. So I said collaborate or fall behind. Because the academic landscape is changing. The more authors, the more cited, and then the more authors, the higher quality. Okay, and also I wanted to be, beyond Europe. The previously quality and quantity kind of the, very much the European base, particularly like the Italian base. But so I wanted to receive the more papers from the Asia, like Middle East and Africa, Okay. Here, associate editors. There is no associate editors, before me. But I thought, we need associate editors, besides the managing editors. So, I started writing some emails to my friends, like full professors, ask them to introduce their PhD students, which means who became the assistant professor or junior researchers, very active junior researchers, to be serving as the associate editors. So, I received several papers, and then I appointed them associate editors, and I assigned several papers to them, and then they decide the reviewers, and then they provide me with some preliminary evaluations. Okay, and then I respect their evaluations all the time. Okay, but sometimes I think this paper must not be rejected, but in that case I explain my final decision to the associate editors. Okay, this is how it works. So the preliminary evaluation made by associate editors, this is really important. paper is more important than the chief editor. Okay. And then, what about when do you think the quality and quantity will be indexed again in Web of Science? Many people imagine about indexing in the Web of Science again, right? Because some of the countries, their evaluation system and then promotion system put a lot of the priority on the Web of Science journals. But like I told you, we already have the 1,000 submissions, even though we were deleted from the Web of Science, right? So we have enough submissions. However, the Supreme Court actually trying to get this journal re-indexed in the Web of Science, so we have to wait until it is indexed. Because the Web of Science, they have their own criteria, right? So this is what we have to wait. And some people ask me about the research integrity. Like you have heard, like paper mills, or and fake journalists, and then fake reviewers. Actually, this is going to be very serious. Fake reviewers, fake, conference, and then fake editors. So, and what Supreme Court has a very, sophisticated system to, detect what is issued. Okay. So, but regarding the, some ethical issues, and then, Supreme Court, as a publisher, they say, they leave the decision of the ethical, discussion to me as the chief editor. But they often ask some ethical issues to the, do you know the COP? COP stands for, code of the publication, and then they refer to the, COP. So I think that this is pretty much about the quality and quantity, and then I can take some questions, and then I go to some different, issues. Now you have some, general overview of the, this journal. Any questions, any comments, or any real experience about this journal, or in general? Oh, yeah. Okay. So can I go to another journal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the new journal I'm going to be serving as the chief editor. And as you can see here, that this is a very much experimental project that is just getting started. But this has the potential to become fascinating and amazing in the future. Okay. As you can see here, ownership of journals, ownership of scientific paper, compensation for authors, editors, for reviewers, and income for publishers. Okay, and ownership of journals, subscription-based journals, belonging to the publisher, like the Supreme Court, Elsevier, MRI, and open access. Also, ownership of journal belongs to the publisher. But this journal, like publishing as a service, and we call it DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. You know a little bit about Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? These cryptocurrencies, so decentralized autonomous organization. So we are independent from the publisher. Okay? And ownership of scientific paper belongs to the publisher. Of course, copyright protected. And open access, public domain. For example, Creative Commons license. Okay? And then this model is ownership of scientific paper author, but distributed freely. conversation for authors, editors, or reviewers. Okay? You publish a lot, but you do not get anything, right? Publisher gets, right? And open access, same with the subscription-based journals. What about this new model? We give you some compensation for the authors, editors, and reviewers using the coins and tokens. Okay? And the income for publisher is the subscription fee, and second model is the publishing or manuscript processing fees. We call it article processing fee, APC, right? Here, share of the journal revenue or the management fee. Okay, so this is the new model of the journal. Okay, so we call it ROSA. ROSA stands for the research output as a science asset. Okay, so we are trying to launch this decentralized, internet-based journal we call Web3 journal, in the forthcoming March. Okay, if you visit this website, scienceasset.com, okay, and then this is the contact email, rosa@journalscienceasset.com. So we are currently seeking members of the editorial board. If you are interested, please write to the to the EIC, and then the email address is it's not my personal email address. Email address is managing, the journal website and general website, and publisher is Science Asset Limited. Okay, so we try to focus on crypto research in a broad sense, including social, technical, and economic studies. And secondly, quantitative methods related to the social science, such as psychometrics, big data, social network, and statistical testing. Third, research-based commentary on contemporary social, political, and cultural issues. So we think this journal is a kind of experimental project. So we do not expect many papers in the beginning. But it will be a good opportunity to get in, this kind of new experimental for the future. That is why also I, am introducing this new models. Why? Let me go to this one. This journal of Contemporary Eastern Asia, actually founded 21 by the Austrian Association of Eastern Asian Studies. Okay, Journal of Contemporary Asia was established by 20 years ago by the Austrian Association. Okay, and then this association had some difficulty in maintaining this journal. At that time, I was the co-editor of this journal. So I like to acquire this journal because they said they are having a difficulty. Okay, so I paid some copyright fees, and then I took over this journal, and then I put this journal under my research center at my university, and then we worked, very hard about 10 years, and then this journal became Scopus. Do you understand? So, and we are very much independent from the publisher, as Springer and Elsevier. And then I'm very happy with this journal, and I'm proud of this journal. As a matter of fact, more than quality and quantity. Because quality and quantity, I'm kind of the contract based, right? And this is the voluntary work, but this, and so I think for this model is a legacy model. Still. So, the third model is also the futuristic model. Okay, so this is what I'm going to share with you. So if you have any questions, and then I'm happy to answer. Ask some questions or any experience. Or, yeah.
It's very interesting, this new approach of new model of journals. I don't know how is it in Asia, but here in Spain, there's a different approach about open access journals and the ones by leading publishers. And of course, the pressure is all over. It's not just in Spain. But here, in terms of accreditations, there are still some challenges, even though the open access reviews or journals are Scopus or Web of Science indexed. Spanish, not all the panels, the scientific panels, value these open access journals in the same way.
Yeah.
I don't know what your experience is back in your country, or even in Asia, or other experience in other countries. And knowing that this is going to be a new model, what do you think that will be the welcoming? Because I'm sure in countries like Asia or Canada, this will be welcomed. But in Europe, what's your opinion? Because normally we tend to be much slower to innovation in terms of research. Let's put it this way.
Yeah, so you asked me about any Asian perspective, but I'm not talking about any Asian viewpoint in this regard. So I'm sharing my thought in a very universal, scientific way. Okay, and regarding this model, this is very much innovative, and then we are starting as a pet project, pet project. So we do not know how successful it is, but we'll see how it's going to be. But regarding the open access, I also like to mention open access has several kinds of models, like void open access and then hybrid, right? Even Springer, this is open access. Once you pay, then some articles may be freely available, right? So this is the hybrid model. They said hybrid open access, transformative journal. But for example, in this journal, we are totally open accessible through the internet. We do not have the print journal. Only this is online. Okay. And then directory of open access journal, the DOAJ. As you know that DOAJ is the world's largest database on open access. And so the quality of journals indexed in the DOAJ is quite good. So, but of course, it depends on the evaluation scheme, where you work, right? So, my university, for example, my university does not count Scopus journal for promotion. So promotion evaluation, my university, they do not, consider the number of the Scopus indexed publication. But it depends on what institution you are working, very much different. And then you mentioned innovation, in Europe. I know it's very slow because I used to work in for the Royal Academy, but even though innovation, is happening very slowly in Europe, once innovation is adopted, and then it becomes like spread away very quickly, right? So that is why I think you got to be prepared, what to do, right? So that's my thing. And probably also you have to be asking like the print backlog. Many people email me, my paper is accepted, when to publish. And then I used to, email editor-in-chief, when my article, will be printed. Because my university does not count online print, or yes print.
my university consider only print based volume number and then page number. Okay. So I received many emails from the authors, complain. It takes 2 years once their articles is accepted, right? So I do not know what's happening before I came to this position, but now I know. I cannot control. Who is control? Publisher control. So there is the editorial portion being coordinated by me, but there is a production side is coordinated by a publisher, Springer. Okay, and then Springer they have the production editor, very much in administrative position, and then they decide how many papers to be included. Okay, and sometimes 10 papers, sometimes 20 papers. If you take a look at the quality quantity last year, second half of the quality quantity last year, the number of papers published per issue almost doubled. So that was not my decision. So I also emailed Springer what happened, and what they told me is we have lots of accepted paper, and then they would like to distribute out quickly, and then all of a sudden they decided to double the number of the publications, printed publications. Yeah, and then
Here,
but,
for instance,
yeah.
in Spain, the National Agency of Accreditation of Researchers, it, when you submit a paper, what counts is the date of printed publishing.
Yeah, the same with Korea.
So if you have that, either it's 100% online, and that's not a problem, it comes also.
Yeah.
But if it's a hybrid reviewed journal, the date that marks the year or the publication date is the printed version. And sometimes you can have one in, for instance, in 2022, but being accepted and being published online in 2021 or 2020. And that's the difference in marking the two things, the accreditation, and secondly, the number of research years that you can ask here in Spain to be accredited. And you can ask for periods of 6 years. And for instance, if you've been accepted in 2022, but it's going to be published, printed in 2023.
Well, 2024, right?
Afterwards, it's going to be tricky in terms of counting this publication within the 6 years of research. That's why you're looking.
Right, and it's very risky for the promotion period, right? Promotion period. But they keep sending me and complaining, and then my hands are tied. Like the quality quantity, we have about 100 papers, waiting, to be published. Okay. So and then calculate, like 20 papers per issue, and then we publish it, every other month. And then which means, we consume 100 papers, for next 1 year. Well, what if publish reduce the number of publications per issue, right?
And one question: if imagine that you get accepted and it's online printed, if you get the option of open access, will it be printed more quickly or not?
No.
There's no influence there.
They, according to them, they say first come, first out.
So,
But they have never informed me, specific, principles, specific guidelines. But in general, they say, the first, come, first out. But they are commercial, sectors, right? So, this is very
tricky.
and then I have to be very careful, to, share some, things with you because, like I told you, we have the publisher, okay? They they all the time tell me every decision should be made by agency, but they give me a guideline. There is very much, a kind of I'm, having a power in the within their instruction. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So what I suggest what is the best policy, to publish. Like, but it depends on many factors. Many factors to be considered. But like I told you, I had better I try with the large volume journals and with high impact rather than this small journal. Okay, because this the larger volume journals, they receive many papers and then they do not overage the time and effort to filter out. Okay. Any other questions?
No, just I don't know if you have a percentage, but we receive around 1,000 per year, and there is a percentage around 50% of that rejected.
Yeah,
When and why? Very short.
when and why? This is the kind of first of all, Springer and like any other publisher, they have the technical system to identify overactive content. Say the realism, right? Realism, okay, overactive content. In terms of the abstract, in terms of the title, in terms of authors, So this technical system provides, me with, some kind of some kind of the signal, words. And then also, the title is very important. Because we are aiming at the methodology journals, right? But sometimes some research title is very much like posing the topical oriented journals rather than method aspect. So in that case, I would suggest to reject. And another thing to be considered here is also the country. Okay, country. All of a sudden, like for example, in country A, submit the many papers in the similar domain, and then I try to be very selective. So many factors to be considered to be just rejected. But like I told you, this rejection is not always bad. Yeah, it's not always bad. Okay. So.
Thank you very much for the presentation about the ROSA notification system. It's the first time I hear about this kind of system. Yeah, I wanted to know if it already, I didn't understand right, if it's already started or do you already have a first issue?
We are starting. So we said the first peer-reviewed scientific journal of the decentralized internet, okay? And then we are planning to start March. But we have not prepared technical system full shape. We have the
So you don't have the system, the technical system?
Technically, we have not fully built a technical system in a decentralized way because it takes a lot of time and effort. But we have some kind of the middle side in a centralized system. I don't know how much you understand about this in the crypto world. For example, like the Binance is the largest crypto exchange in the world. But Binance is not decentralized system. It's the centralized system. Okay? But they manage the decentralized tokens and coins. So like that we have with the centralized system. at the moment. But we are working on the decentralized infrastructure, but it takes time. And then we try to, launch, this new model in March. And,
It's really interesting, very interesting. And how do you imagine this first issue? Do you already?
No, this is the first time.
But how do you imagine it's going to be? Which kind of content do you imagine in the first issue?
Yeah. Actually, today is the first day to announce in a public.
Yeah, I never heard.
Yeah, today is the first day, to announce this journal, So we do not know exactly what you come to this website, okay, and then there is some email, registration, and then you get to know the progress of this journal. Okay, so we'll see how it goes, and then who knows, in the future.
Perfect. Thank you, Professor Park. Thank you very much.